Welcome to the SFL Game Day Wrap-Up, April the 4th, along with Mike St. Green. I am Cameron Irvine, and my goodness, what a crazy Week 11. A bunch of teams clinch, a bunch of thrilling games, Mike. It was a whirlwind, I got to tell you, but things are starting to take shape.
Yeah, Cam, exciting week. I mean, we couldn't ask for a better week coming down the stretch. I mean, if this was week 2 or 3, it would have been just as exciting. But with all the playoff scenarios, teams getting eliminated, teams clinching, it just made it just, extra exciting and extra dramatic and more drama added to it. So, yeah, it was a great week 11.
So here's what happened on Sunday. All the 7-win teams clinched. So Vancouver, while they have not wrapped up the division yet, they have clinched a playoff spot with their win on Saturday. Jacksonville clinched a playoff spot with their their loss on Saturday to Vancouver, but it didn't end up mattering anyway. Jacksonville is in the playoffs. Mexico City wins or clinches with their victory on Saturday over Baltimore. Baltimore, of course, had already clinched the division, so they're in. But on Sunday, Las Vegas clinched a playoff spot with a 40-27 victory over St. Louis, and it wasn't that close, Mike. It was close early, but Las Vegas handled St. Louis after a critical Cairo Martinez fumble forced by Slim Shady, and the Vegas Fury is in the playoffs for the first time in a few seasons.
Yeah, Cam, as I mentioned to you in the pregame of this game, and maybe off the air, but yeah, both of these teams came into this game with 31 takeaways each, and but going in, St. Louis offense had struggled a ton this season. They're only averaging something like 18 points a game, but Vegas had these explosive pieces in John Blades and Scott Johnson, and it was imperative that St. Louis control these guys. But hey, Blades didn't have a huge game, but Scott Johnson had a tremendous game and put Vegas over the top. But as you mentioned, that big Slim Shady hit on Cairo Martinez as he was trying to score, that pretty much just turned the tide of the game.
At the time of that fumble, it was 6-6 late in the second quarter, and St. Louis was in the red zone. Vegas recovers that fumble, and after that, Las Vegas scored 34 points in almost just one half. It was just an offensive explosion. They did it on the ground. They did it through the air. And they've won 5 in a row, Mike, since starting 2-4.
Yeah, Vegas was, struggling with the turnover ball. With Colin Pierce, the young rookie quarterback, was struggling with the turnover ball early in the season, and you just never know which Vegas you were going to get. Scott Johnson really hadn't taken off, but Blades had a couple of huge games early in the season. Even though Pierce was, throwing interceptions and turning it over, but Blades was having a bunch of huge games. But you just didn't know who Vegas, were at the time. But man, these guys have turned it around. You know what you're going to get from Scott Johnson every week. Blades is going to be consistent. Another big key to this team in a couple of games during this stretch, Doug Britton has been a beast in the return game. Yeah. A couple of returns, another big return today that he came short on. But man, these guys are really put it together and are going to be a tough out in the playoffs.
They played Denver in Week 12. Denver wrapped up the number 1 seed on Sunday. They put up 50 on Sioux Falls, and it was a snoozer. But Jared McChesney, 257 yards. That is a new franchise record for the Denver Nightwings. A career day for McChesney and a blowout win. They made Sioux Falls look like a team that was eliminated, and combined now they hung 80 in 2 games against Sioux Falls this season. They roared. On the other side, St. Louis is going to play Tulsa in Week 12. The winner wins the East. A pair of 6-5 teams. Atlanta shut out from possibly winning the division, even though they're just a game back right now. And the loser at 6-6, they are likely out unless all the 6-5 teams and all the 5-6 teams stumble around them, which is very unlikely. That's a winner-take-all game now next week, Mike.
Yeah, St. Louis is going to be in pretty much the same boat as they were this week with Vegas. If St. Louis can, play St. Louis type ball, and if you look at one big statistic with St. Louis is that they've won their 6 games by a total of like 29 points. So basically, they're winning the games on an average of like 4 points per game. They want to keep it close. They're not very explosive on offense. Basically one of their main weapons is Eagle Mondavi and nothing else. I mean, Christian Brown is a great quarterback. I really, really like Christian Brown. I'm impressed with him, but they don't seem to have enough weapons of firepower to match his talent as of yet. But they're going to have to keep that game close. JQ, rookie quarterback as well. Jay tends to get the big plays. He has more weapons. He has Gabriel Manning. He has Sanzo Robinson. He has Jason France. DJ Hume had a big game today in that win for Tulsa. So St. Louis is going to have to, control the explosive plays, put that turnover bug on JQ. He tends to turn it over quite a bit. And they're going to battle a tough, close game if they're going to come out with this victory. They're going to, out St. Louis Tulsa. Don't let Tulsa out St. Louis them.
They got Tulsa beat Louisiana 29-21 to put that pressure back on St. Louis. Even though Tulsa could have won the division anyway, even if they lost that game, it wouldn't have felt as good coming in for Tulsa. Now Tulsa's feeling good. They're back in the lead in the division, and the pressure is on St. Louis. Hey, how about Fort Worth today? They not only do they make the playoffs for the first time in franchise history, but they win the division, the toughest division in the SFL. Mexico City, Lone Star, Houston, and Fort Worth, the expansion team from just last season, is in the playoffs at 8-3. London gave them all they could handle. A great game by London, and they're still in the mix for the playoffs. They have a very slim chance, but still very much in the mix. And if you can hang against Fort Worth, you can hang against anybody. But Fort Worth gets it done. Hats off to the Toros as they defeat London by a couple of touchdowns.
Yeah, Cam, definitely hats off to that organization. 2 short seasons, clinching their first division championship and a trip to the playoffs. But I'll tell you what was crazy about this game. This game was highly entertaining, but at the same time, I'm asking myself, why is this game so close? It's like this game had no business being this close. Or so you would think, because London was, they were struggling on offense. Fort Worth was doing what they, wanted to do for the most part offensively, as far as, pounding the ball with Williams. Williams had, 161 yards and a touchdown. Stephen Hacker had 196 yards. But before Stephen Hacker had that 196 yards receiving, Cameron Curtis was busy turning the ball over 5 times. And that's what kept London in this game. The defense showed up, played well. And then all of a sudden you would think it was Fort Worth against the Dustin Zex, because Dustin Zex single-handedly, back-to-back touchdowns on kick returns. But as we mentioned off the air, behind the scenes, that every time London seemed to get close, Fort Worth seemed to have an answer to the very next drive.
Amazing performance by Dustin Zeck. To my recollection, first time 2 kickoff return touchdowns in an SFL game, and he did it on back-to-back drives. Some players don't even have 2 kick return touchdowns in their career, and they've been returning kicks a long time. An amazing play. London 4-6. They have 2 games left because of the makeup. The schedule is somewhat favorable. They got both Queen City and Houston at home. Queen City is done for after blowing it against Lone Star. And then, Houston up and down, just suffered a loss to D.C. And we'll see how they look after they play Mexico City in Week 12. So I don't know what London's in the same boat as other teams. They're hoping for a 6-6 jumble and for the tiebreakers to fall their way. That includes improving on their strength of victory. It's okay right now. They need it to get better. So any team that London has beaten, of the 4 that they've beaten, they need to start winning games. DC is one of those teams, right? So they're going to need DC to upset Baltimore, among other things, to help them make the playoffs. So that's going to be an interesting one, but we'll see how that all shakes out. Also, on a busy Sunday, we talked about it briefly, but Tulsa beating Louisiana 29-21 in a wild game. Whisker LaFouche, Reggie Streeter. Louisiana did not make it easy. They found out that they were eliminated from the playoffs just minutes before their game kicked off. And so that had to be a deflator, but that team played with a lot of heart today, and they put the pressure on Tulsa. They were 10 yards away in a 2-point conversion from losing that game with the Desperados.
Yeah, one thing I took away from this game, as long as you have Reggie Streeter, you can possibly compete in any game in the SFL. I mean, this has been, aside from Reggie Streeter, man, this has been a great, great weekend for the running backs that, everybody for 10 weeks have said, oh, what's happened to the SFL running back? But hey, these guys have obviously progressed and made adjustments. Coaches have made adjustments along the way, and these running backs performed well this weekend. Reggie Streeter, looked like Reggie Streeter this weekend, 151 yards, 2 touchdowns. Whisker LaFouche had a pretty impressive game for his first time out, 254 yards, a touchdown, but he was hampered by 3 interceptions. Tulsa, what they did, they pulled a comeback here late in this game. Jason France with a late touchdown, and Judah Jorgen with a late field goal to put them up by 8 to kind of seal this victory and set up an all winner-take-all matchup next week against St. Louis.
Yeah, they were down 21-20 in the fourth quarter. Actually scored a touchdown and then had the extra point blocked, and then were able to get a field goal. So weird, kind of bizarre score there. 29-21. Tulsa gets the win. This Tulsa team, they're not the best defensively, but they're different and they're exciting. And JQ, the rookie, and Gabriel Manning, and they're a fun team to watch. Jason France, it looks like they're having fun out there. Very young secondary, very experienced front seven with Majesty and Real, and that's where they hang their hat. Demora on the line with a youthful bunch of DBs, but they're an interesting team. They're going to give some people some problems in the playoffs.
Yeah, Cameron, but you hit it right on the head when you said a fun team to watch. I really, really enjoy watching this Tulsa team. Like I said, I don't know what it is specifically about them, but they just seem to, you have Manning. You never know when Manning is going to go off and do something special. JQ is going to give you maybe 5 interceptions, but 400 yards passing. And so you just never know what you're going to get. The rookie, Jason France, tight end, he makes big plays downfield. DJ Hume has come alive. Corey Jones has even come alive in the past few weeks. And like I said, that young secondary and huge front seven on defense. I just love watching this team play. And the funny thing, I love watching St. Louis. Like I said, I love watching Christian Brown. So it's going to be a very, very interesting game next week. I'm really going to hate to see either team lose.
All right, sling that rock, Nick. That whatever that.
I love that. I love that Christian Brown throwing motion.
All right. Wow. What a great week 11, Mike. Game balls for Sunday. You're up first. Who you got?
Well, Cam, I'm going to pull one of your deals from you. I'm going to go the obscure route.
Here comes a punter.
No, it's not going to be a punter, but I tell you what, because his play was so big in changing the game today, I have to go with Slim Shady for my first game ball.
Oh, no, you took it from me. No. Oh,
I knew that was going to be your guy.
You're a word that I get flagged for.
That was a huge play in that game.
It really was. It really was a spectacular. I mean, we see it all the time, momentum flip, Mike, but I don't know that I've ever seen a team flip a switch in that big of a way after a single play than that forced fumble in the red zone by Slim Shady. And Slim Shady, I believe this is going to be his first trip to the playoffs. He's never been in the playoffs. He's been in the league for years. Big game.
Yeah, that's great. That's great news. And what that play did, Cam, as we know, it stopped St. Louis from going into the end zone. They were inside the 5. The very next play, Scott Johnson breaks off like a 95-yard touchdown run. So it just immediately led to immediate momentum, and Las Vegas never looked back in that game.
Yep. Okay, well, make an adjustment here. I'm going to go Dustin Zech for making history. They didn't win, but talk about putting a team on your back. And London's had a tough couple of weeks. Obviously, they thought they might be 5-5. Turns out that they were not. Now they're 4-6, but the season is still in front of them. They still have a shot. And when you have guys like Dustin Zech, those are building blocks, Mike. Even if they don't make the playoffs this season, those pieces are important. Look at Portland. They're 4-7 now. DC 3-8. We got teams that are eliminated, and they're playing ball, right? Louisiana and Sioux Falls, two teams that made the semifinals last season, they're going backwards, right? They're not winning games after they've been eliminated. Some of these teams that have been at the bottom over the last couple of seasons or are brand new in the SFL, they are winning football games, and they are figuring out what their future looks like. London needs moments like these. So Dustin Zech gets a game ball for that history, for sure.
Oh, yeah. He huge game from Zech today. As I mentioned earlier, he kept those guys in that game single-handedly. Just Fort Worth always seemed to have an answer for every Dustin Zech amazing moment.
Okay, take my second one from me, why don't you?
Well, as just mentioned, Portland, and I was actually thinking about this before the wrap-up show, and that's kind of what you alluded to, is that if these guys could stay together and keep moving forward, DC, Portland, and as you mentioned, London, these guys are going to be a force to be reckoned with in seasons to come in the SFL. And with that being said, this guy's had an electric second half of the season and definitely had an electric game today. Ezekiel Love, 207 yards, 2 touchdowns. Wow. This guy's been amazing in the second half of the season and definitely was amazing again today. And he's a huge reason why Portland are a 4-win team now.
Yeah, that's a good one. I did not realize that he got over 200 yards. Him and McChesney today.
Yeah,
got over 200, and we've given McChesney a game ball before. I want to spread the love. He got the franchise record. Plus they scored 50, and they're the best team in the league. So we got to share the love here. No pun intended to Ezekiel Love. Let's see. This is a tough one for me because it's hard to put a finger on exactly how it happened, how they won the game. But I'll go with the man that starts every broadcast, Moose Papineau, for Atlanta. This man had a huge pass breakup against TJ Punk late in the game. Punk had the catch, knocked it out of his hand, had a couple of picks, including in the fourth quarter. He didn't see it. There's no way he saw it. He turns around and the ball is in his hands. And he did not take a safety. That was not his fault, right? He got tackled, but his forward progress was marked at the goal line. That game could have turned crazier than it was, but Papineau, the first pick that he was responsible for, came early in the third quarter when that game was starting to get out of hand and Arizona was falling apart. Honorable mention to Chris Henry, too, who also had 2 picks. He only had 3 all season. He had 2 in about a minute's time. But that interception in the red zone, just imagine, at the time it was 37-27. If Arizona gets a touchdown there, it's now a 3-point game. And even if Atlanta recovers the onside kick and kicks a field goal, you got another shot at it, even without a 2-point conversion. It was a big moment in that game, big moment for Atlanta. So Moose Papineau gets my game ball.
Yeah, that's a great game ball, Cam. Actually, as you mentioned, you could have probably given it to the entire Atlanta secondary. They really had a huge game and took Ashley Jackson out of a game today. But yeah, Moose did make a big play there on the goal line and a couple big plays throughout that game. So yeah, great choice.
Really a team effort. I mean, BDG had a nice day, And, Dynasty took care of the football in the second half. Third down, they were just
Yeah.
impressive offensively. Very unique offense, and they spread the ball around. That was the Atlanta we thought we were going to see all season long.
Yeah.
It just hasn't worked out that way. All right, well, that is Week 11. Game day wrap-up for April the 4th. Mike and I will see you next weekend for the amazing slate of action. We can't wait to bring it to you. It starts Saturday afternoon on the SFL's YouTube channel with a couple of games for some teams that are out of the mix, but still got to roll out the season and finish it in style. It's going to be a lot of fun, Mike, and we'll see everybody next weekend.